It's time for the Leadership Lunch Break with Joy Jackson of Speaking of Joy. Let's tune in for today's discussion with the HR twins of the Career Salon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Leadership Lunch Break. I'm Joy Jackson of Speaking of Joy, and I'm so excited that you've joined me today. I'll tell you why. Now, I have twins, so those are my favorite twins, right? Shelby and Sydney are my favorite twins. But I have some other twins that are my next favorite twins. They are the HR twins, Camille and Carla, and I am so blessed to have them on the Leadership Lunch Break today. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Hi. This has been a long time coming. We've been working together. We've known each other for years now. We won't say how many because we don't want people, we met when we were 5. It's been almost 25 years. We'll say that. So thank you, ladies, so much for taking the time to come to the Leadership Lunch Break. Before we get started, I want you to introduce yourselves, tell everybody a little bit about you, and then we'll tell everybody what we've come to talk about today.
All right. Thank you so
Sure.
much for having us on the Leadership Lunch Break. We've, like you said, known you forever. We're so proud of what you've been doing. It's so needed in corporate America, entrepreneurship these days. But I'm Camille Tate, and I'm one half of the HR twins with the Career Salon. Mm-hmm. I am a talent acquisition leader in the tech space. I'm also co-founder of the Career Salon with my sister Carla. Originally, I founded the Career Salon as a blog to talk about career-related HR, recruiting, talent acquisition topics that people normally don't talk about, and come from a perspective from behind the scenes of HR and talent acquisition. So that's originally why the Career Salon was started. And then I'm like, Carla is in HR. Let's
absolutely.
Let's bring our knowledge together and come together. Absolutely. And, bring people content and things they can use in their career. So that's, my spiel. I've been in TA, talent acquisition, for over 15 years now.
Awesome. Welcome, Camille. And then the other half of the Career Salon, Carla.
Yes,
welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, my name is Carla Patton. I've been in HR it'll be 18 years this year. So I'm what they call a generalist. I do basically everything. So I know enough about everything to be dangerous. So I do employee relations, recruiting, I have benefits administration, onboarding, full employee life cycle range of activities. And I love it that way. So I've been in any industries like federal government, startups, healthcare, pharmaceutical environments. And now I am a HR leader at a major global advertising and marketing agency. And so I'm so glad to be here, Joy. And I'm also glad to be a part of the Career Salon with my sister. I like to tell people that we talk about the elephants in the room that no one wants to talk about. And that really is what excites me to be a part of this journey with my sister, that we can open spaces for people to talk about things like that. So thank you for having us here today.
Absolutely. And let me tell you guys, you are in for a treat. If you have never, ever heard of the HR twins, you've been under a rock first, but you're going to get some great insight and information today. And today our topic is leading behind the line. And so Carla, Camille, and I were talking about what we wanted to talk about, and we threw out some ideas. And when Carla said leading behind the line, I thought that was perfect, because all of us have stories of understanding what it means when you're a leader, but you may not have a title. And if you don't have a title, how do you lead? Because most of us have been conditioned. There's a boss, there are some managers, there's some other folks, and then there's me. So today I want to talk about that. How do you lead behind the line? And Carla says this was a topic that you showed so much passion for. We'll start with you. Can you define what it means to lead behind the line?
Well, I just want to talk about the idea of what leadership means. A lot of people think that leadership is, I have a title of a director or a manager or a VP, and that's what it takes for me to lead. But that's actually not true. And it's kind of the furthest thing from the truth, because we need the whole team to be seen as leaders and be collaborative to make something successful. And a leader, it doesn't do everything on their own. It takes people that are behind the line, that are behind the scenes, that make that thing work. So when I think about this topic, I think about sports, and I think about a court and all the different lines and boundaries that it has set up. And you would think that, oh, I feel bad for the people sitting on the sidelines that only get 5 minutes of play during the game. Like, oh, they're so sad. But during practice, and them playing that defensive side and offensive side to make the leaders, work better, work harder, work smarter. That is a part of success for the team. And, it's been many years that I've been looking at sports, from this. I'm not really a sports fanatic, but I look and people are really bringing up the people that cheer from the sideline. We see LeBron James, but we also see the people that's cheering him on, that's happy for him, that's willing to, be practicing with him late at night on the weekends when it's not even a season. So those people are important. And I just want people to know that even though you don't have a title, my good friend Joy here says leadership is about influence.
Absolutely.
And how you can influence spaces and people and make things successful. So that's what I think about leading behind the line.
Awesome. And let me tell you two things, everybody, so that number one, everybody on the sideline, every towel boy, every person in the team gets a ring. So when the Lakers won, everybody won. Yes. And so that's something super important to think about when you're talking about behind the line. If you're a part of success, you're a part of success together. If you're a part of loss, you're a part of loss together. It's not a thing where only LeBron, now he may get the name and the recognition, but truly everybody is a part of the Lakers championship team. And I think that's super important for people to know. And then number two, LeBron just got hurt last night and he's out indefinitely. So if you're on a team, you always got to be prepared, because you never know when behind the line comes to in front of the line. What do you think, Camille?
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think this is a great topic, that Carla is talking about. And I think that people have a outdated kind of the definition of what leadership is.
Absolutely.
And that causes people not to want to engage in leadership, because they're like, oh, I have to be at this point to be a leader. Well, I don't want to do all that. Right. And so I think that part of a leader's job is coaching and developing people behind the line to say, this is what leadership is. It's not, I'm not here. So when you say servant leadership, people say that all the time. Or when you talk about leading with empathy, and when you talk about being an inclusive leader, that means redefining what leadership means to the people behind the line and bringing them across the line, right? So that people oftentimes think of leadership as a hierarchy of stair steps, right? When really leadership is a circle. Leadership is a circle. And I'm always, since Carla's using the sports analogy, for me, I'm always thinking about, being a collaborative leader and being that player coach. That player coach kind of leadership, that kind of works, for the most part, because you're being collaborative and you're not the end all be all to the success of the team.
Right? Absolutely.
So let's take for an example. I have a weekly meeting with my team every week. But it's not just me leading the meeting. Everyone has a turn. Every Monday, everybody has a turn, because guess what? I'm showing my team, you all are leaders. It's just not my voice. Absolutely. We're a whole team, and we all win or we all fall and get up together. And so I think it's the responsibility of leaders to kind of help redefine leadership and bring people forward from behind the line. So then you kind of dissipate the line. It's no longer
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. That's good.
Important. When you think about, we're all about diversity, equity, inclusion, right?
Right.
Leading from behind the line and bringing people forward and kind of erasing that and that redefinition, that's a part of diversity,
Yeah.
equity, and inclusion. When you think about diversity of thought and all of
Absolutely.
inclusion and bringing people to the table, to the conversation,
Absolutely.
that's part of that. So I think that, it's a great topic area that Carla, is speaking about, because it's very important that we do that, especially this day and time.
Right. Absolutely. And I think we suffer from the idea that we have to even use the word leader. Like, I'm so sick of leadership principles, leadership help. And I know that's ironic because I call this leadership lunch break, but I'm saying, but we've taken the word and we've put so much power in the word leader that we forget that it's just a noun. It's just a word. A leader is really action. It's really what you're doing. So you can be behind the line and lead. Think about it. The coach never steps on the field. Never steps on the field. Right. Well, never steps. And if he does, he gets teched and all of that stuff. But ideally, they are coaching from the sideline, and they may have plays that they call, but they trust their team enough that they can stand on the sideline and direct the team, and the team has practiced and perfected it so much that when they say blue 42, they know exactly what to do. If your team is not at that point where you can stay on the side, like, that whole, I got to roll up my sleeves. Yeah, you do. But if you're always rolling up your sleeves, then that means you don't trust your team to do the work. If you're always in the game, then who's watching? Because the leader from the sideline can see everything going on. So the coach is able to run plays and call and make decisions from a different perspective than the players in the game. And I think so many times leaders want to be all of it. You say you don't, but then it's like, well, I can do it better than they can, so I'm gonna do it myself. Right. And then they find themselves frustrated and angry because, well, I need them to, then we start talking about coaching and development, but it's like, what opportunities have you given people to actually be coached and developed? So what would you say if we were talking about just this is just random, take away the word leader? How would you describe that function or that responsibility? We're not going to use the word leader. What would you say to someone who says, I want to be that, but we're no longer saying leader? What would you say, Camille?
Coach. Like I said, coach.
Okay.
That's it. That someone that has been in the industry or whatever discipline for some time and gained enough experience to influence a team to a certain point, right? And no, that, there are leaders out there that have never really done individual contributor, maybe, or possibly in a certain skill set, but they still have enough overall knowledge of a subject area to coach along. When people talk about leadership, I think that people think of their leadership of a discipline or things like that. Most leadership is more people oriented. So I really feel it should be coach instead of
good. I like that. Okay.
I really do, because it's about people. It's not about you. It's about the people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Carla, what about you? We no longer call them leaders. What do we call them?
I would call it a collaborative guide.
Okay. I like that. Collaborative guide. Okay.
When I was interviewing for my most recent job, I always try to explain my leadership style. And I was telling them that I'm a collaborative guide. Like, I don't want to be seen as the person out front. I want us to be seen like in a line, in a row, you're my equal. I mean, you kind of have to trust the talent that you hire. If I have 18 years of experience and a person on my team has 16 years of experience, I've got to respect that. I've got to know that they've worked just as hard as me to get to the place that they are, and they have the knowledge and the skills and ability to carry out what our goals are. And, and if they have gaps in that, I think a hindrance, and I want to lead into, another question. I think a hindrance to being that collaborative guide or coach or leader or whatever you want to call it is lack of communication and passive aggressiveness. Because how can I help guide you? How can I help coach you if I'm not willing to talk about things that are sensitive, to talk about things that are vulnerable? and really get down to how I can help you grow. And I think a lot of leaders, they, you know, it's some of them have like this competitiveness, like with them and their team. Like, I don't want them to take my job. If they do, if you've guided this person for 2 or 3 years and they're up to the caliber in which you are, and they can take a role, is your same title, kudos.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely
awesome. That's what we want to see. You know, as we see a lot of managers and leaders get upset when, you know, they've invested into employees for 3-5 years and the employee wants to do something different and they put in their 2 weeks notice and the leader's like, oh, so upset and frustrated. But you should be happy. Okay, you have to backfill a position, but you've led and guided and developed this person where they can move on and move up to in a different organization, in a different industry. That's amazing. And so there's some hindrances to the way leaders think in regards to leadership and how they, you know, convey their messages to employees.
Absolutely. Good. Well, let me tell you, if I had to choose a word, this is going to sound so bland and easy. I would choose person. Because, and we can put person with or person who, we can add that. But I think at the core of it all, we're people. And so many times in leadership roles, we forget that we are people. I mean, I think about things like we're all in a pandemic. There is not anybody in this world who is not living through the pandemic. So being empathetic and being patient and being more tolerant is a people skill you have to have right now. I mean, we all are trying to figure out the uncertainty of the economy. So being sensitive and being mindful, those are people things. And I think sometimes we become leaders and then we treat ourselves like here and we treat everybody else like they're here, not realizing that there is no gap. In reality, there's no gap. The economy is impacting us all. The pandemic is impacting us all. We all have or look at social media and see what's going on in the world. Like there is nothing that makes us different. The only thing that makes us different is experience and title and maybe money. But apart from that, and then you got some leaders who aren't making as much as the people who are working for them anyway. So that's not even really a good gauge anymore. But I think leadership is just about, it's a person. And when you lead from humanity, and you lead from the part of you that's good, that desires to see people do well, then Carla, you shouldn't have we know we do, but you shouldn't have an issue where there's a competition because I'm a person and you're a person. And when we're working together and two people succeed, I mean, the sum is better than the individual. So why wouldn't I want to see? And then I'll just say this, if somebody's been with me 5 years and they have not moved on, then I should have some concerns. As a person, as a coach, as a collaborative guy, as a leader, if your team does not change in years, it's great that you guys are a well-oiled machine, but what opportunities are existing for other people? Because at some point, the people that you groom should, I mean, you invest in your children, and one day you sure hope that they leave the nest, right? You hope that they, you hope. I mean, now we've got small children, we got a ways to go, but we hope that we've instilled enough in them and prepared them enough so that they can go out into the world. And I think sometimes as leaders, we should think about that too. I want to equip my people so much so that if I'm no longer in position, they can still manage. Or if they decide to leave, they can go knowing that they've been well prepared and well equipped because I've given them the best of me. And so as people, if we go into work every day or go into our businesses every day saying, I'm a person giving my best to the people that I work with, I think we would change the entire trajectory of leadership. So let me ask you, collaborative guide, what do you think is one biggest, I'm gonna call it a mistake that collaborative guys, we're not saying leaders anymore, okay? Collaborative guys, coaches, and people, that's what we're saying. So what is one issue that you think collaborative guys tend to make when they walk into these roles? And it may be more than one.
Besides the one that I mentioned about lack of communication and all that, I would probably think of intent. Because, and that ties back to your why. Why do you want to be a leader? Because the why is going to show up in what you do as a leader. It's going
Absolutely.
to show up the way that you talk to your employees. Either you're talking to them as your teammate, or you're talking to them like they're down here and you're up here. Like, so you really need to know your why, and not knowing your why, like, it not only impacts you and your role, it impacts your team. I don't think people understand the way that people look at leadership and the way that they decide to lead. It impacts the person. And, you know, we've heard from family and friends about people having so many challenges with their manager. Like, that can make or break your experience at a company. Like, whether you're getting along or feel like your leader respects you and the work you do and appreciates you. So it really comes down, for me, to the intent of the leader. Like, what are you trying to do?
Absolutely. I think we should ask that question. We should ask that question in any interview. As a leader, what are you trying to do? Just flat out. I see your resume, because your resume shows me that because you're sitting in front of me now because you're qualified, right? So what you trying to do? I think if we just, when they walk in the door, hey, listen, this is okay. This is not endorsed by Carla and Camille. They're like HR professionals with letters behind their name. This is just Joy as a communicator. Sit down and ask a leader. So what you trying to do? That would, because if they can bounce back and respond to that, you got the right person. If they can't answer that question, then yeah, this may not be the job for you. But that's just me. That's not Carla and Camille endorsing that. So their employers, that was me. That was all me. I take full credit for that question. All right. All right. So Camille, you called it that person a coach. So what is a mistake that you think the coaches tend to make?
Not level setting expectations with their team, right? So I don't know why it is that leaders, coaches, collaborative guides are just not real and transparent with their teams. Because I know that I'm the type of person, I kind of, you know, after you've been in corporate America for so many years, you learn the do's and the don'ts of leadership by people that you've been around and you've been managed by, right? And I always thought it was funny how I saw, and just me being behind the scenes, the purpose of the Career Salon, right? Being behind the scenes and being able to dialogue and talk about some of the things that we have seen. I've seen leaders just like hold back information, not that it was like sensitive or anything at all, you know, hold back feedback, not give expectations. If you want, let's say at the end of the year, and you're telling your employee, you're not going to get promoted or get this certain amount of bonus because you haven't gone above and beyond in your job. You've just been okay. Okay. Have you given feedback throughout the year? And typically that's a shock to employees when they get into their performance reviews and they're like, whoa, okay. So I'm just, you know, okay. What happened to the level setting of expectations? What happened to giving feedback so that your employees, your teammates can pivot and then turn away and correct and move forward? And so that, for me, in my career, I've seen where that the employee or the teammate was a good person, could have done a great job. It's just that coach, that leader, that collaborative guide wasn't transparent with them, did not get feedback in a timely manner, and so on and so forth. Of course, the teammate has a responsibility as well, not all on the coach. But I think that the coach, if you have an expectation in your mind, a teammate,
communicate
to the actual teammate or employee.
Absolutely. Awesome. Those are good points. So I'm gonna wrap that part up, and I'm gonna say, as a person, I think the biggest mistake that people, leaders, collaborative guides, coaches make is forgetting. And by forgetting, I mean none of us started off in the positions we were in. We all worked. So at some point, you picked up the phone and said, "Thank you for calling ABC Company. How may I direct your call?"
Yes.
Okay? Or at some point, you stood behind a teller line counting cash. Or you took fingerprints, or whatever those things were that were the jobs that you no longer have. Sometimes we forget those jobs. We forget that we worked our way to the positions and the power and that we have now. So we have to remember that when we're working with our team or other teams, because it doesn't necessarily have to be our team, but when we're doing cross-functional work or interdepartmental work, we've got to remember we all started. And I think a lot of times as collaborative guys, coaches, leaders, managers, supervisors, whatever, we expect people to be at a certain level right out of the gate.
Yeah.
And we forget that somebody had to pull us to the side and say, now, next time that you have, we had to be told that. We had to be told, hey, you know what? You probably don't want to speak like that. You probably don't want to share. You probably want to be more prepared. You did a really good job. But the next time that you go before these people, you want to do this or that. We had those conversations. We didn't always get the job. We didn't always get the promotion. And we were taught and coached in a way. So I think as leaders and as people, we forget that we weren't always the CEOs or always the CFOs or the directors or the VPs. We were once just regular old employees coming in, doing a job. Yes. And by the grace of God and by, I just believe the grace of God, I'm not gonna say by luck, by grace of God, we actually were promoted and continued to grow in positions. And then even as collaborative guys, coaches, people, leaders, we're learning still. So even though we're in the seats that people think are the prestigious, we've arrived seats, if we're in those seats, we should still be learning. And there are a lot of people who get to the seats and now forget that you need to be developed.
Yeah.
That you need to have some coaches. Many people, when they get to a certain level, feel like they don't need a coach anymore.
Yeah.
They feel like they're at a point now where I got it under control.
Right.
So what do you say to people like that? What do you say to people who are at a point where they're like, you know what? I am sitting in the seat. I am the leader, the collaborative guy, the coach, the number one, all of that. What do you say to those people who have gotten there? Because I'm sure you in your career, you've come across those people. You're like, oh, you need some help. Oh, you need some coaching. And so what do you say? Camille, okay, Camille, that's yours. You go. What do you say to those people?
I mean, pride comes before the fall.
Oh, I was going to say the same thing. Oh, my goodness.
Let me put that into corporate terms.
Yeah.
Pride is something, and I've seen it. I've seen it where I'm like, ooh, yeah. And you want to say something, but this person is like up here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've always seen it where it works out, and that person is humbled.
Absolutely.
For being prideful.
Absolutely.
And we see it out in the marketplace.
Yeah.
We see it out in the marketplace. It happens.
Yeah.
Something happens where you're so prideful, and it's pride creates blind spots.
Oh.
Pride,
I like that.
Blind spots, not only in just your everyday life, but especially as a leader, because you get tunnel vision and you get more self-absorbed in some cases. And so your blinders are on, and you're not looking at all facets of the business, or you're not really engaging as much as you should be. And you think, I've got this. The company is profitable. We're up and to the right. This is that is this, right? But really, it's not you. It's your leading from behind the line.
That's it.
But
that's good.
But you get prideful. Yeah. And it will always come as a detriment. When you let the pride of being a leader and not being a learner impact your leadership role and your path. It always happens. Nobody really has to say anything. Yeah. Nobody has to do anything. You want to. I've been in those spots where you want to say something and you want to do something. You don't want to be, disrespectful or anything like that. But I always kept things to myself when I see things like that happen in different situations. And it always happens where they're humbled by some situation or some person. And I'm like, absolutely. I don't want to say I told you so, but I told you so.
Yeah. What about you, Carla? What do you think?
I would just add on to that, that pride is the thing that actually makes you not a leader. Because when you have that type of pride and when you think that you've arrived, people don't want to follow that.
Absolutely.
And I've seen it many times in workplaces, that I've heard of from friends and family, and I've experienced myself. Who wants to follow someone like that? that's not self-aware, that has that tunnel vision, that's not, being collaborative, that's barking orders, treating you like you're less than, human, or you have less skill set, you're really not leading. Your pride is preventing you to be the leader that you thought you were going to be, but you're actually not. So, what do you call that person that thinks they're a leader and they're really not? You're just a person
foolish.
that's right.
Foolish.
People from, I've been an employee, just a person leading behind the line, and I've looked at certain leaders. I would never go to them and have a vulnerable conversation, or I would never go to them to ask them for help with my development. That it puts up a boundary. It puts up a line. Like, instead of just being on the floor, you're building a brick wall between you and the people that you're supposedly leading, because no one wants to be around that. They can keep it.
Yeah. So here's what I'm going to recommend. I'm going to recommend that we all change the narrative of the word pride. Okay. So we know pride is not our friend, but pride, when you think about the natural habitat of lions, the pride is the group.
Yeah.
So I think we should change the narrative. So if you're going to say you got pride, or you're proud, or any of those things, think about, when you think about a pride, the pride is the group. So if you're by yourself and you're the only one, then that's when you are out of order, and that's pride is going to cause you to fail. But when you have a pride, a tribe, a team, a group of people that you're working collaboratively with, or you're coaching, you will find so much success. And I think we have to remember the success of the group is what we're here for. We are not here to make ourselves successful. And if you are, you might reach the success, but it's only a matter of time before that fades. It's only a matter of time before that ends. So listen, ladies, I don't know if y'all realize this. We have been talking up a storm, and this has been so awesome. So first, let me say thank you so much. We have so much more to talk about. So we're going to talk again. After this, I'm gonna call you back. We're gonna talk about when we're gonna finish this conversation. We may call it Behind the Line Part 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll figure it out. But I thank you, ladies, so much. Before we go, two things. Number one, anything left you want to say? Anything to our final audience, just to let them know, and then tell them where they can find you, where they can reach you, how they can follow you, all of that good stuff.
Well, we have a weekly podcast that's everywhere you can listen to podcasts. Joy's been a guest on our podcast. So Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, Anchor FM. We're there. We're on YouTube. Our Facebook page, we put a lot of content there. You can find us everywhere. On LinkedIn,
Instagram.
Instagram, we put a lot of content on there that we may not post on other channels. So follow us everywhere. Awesome.
And then what do you guys have coming up?
Well, this month, at the end of the month, we have a series called the Happy Hour, and it's a play on acronyms, Hot Happy Hour, HR. And that is streamed on our YouTube and Facebook page. And we are having our annual or quarterly HR roundtable. And so look out for more details on that. And then we also are going to be a part of a conference from the Education and Training Committee of the Junior League of Arlington. They're putting on a conference called the Power Play. And so we'll be speaking at that conference, and it's on May 1st. And so we'll be putting out the details where people can register for that.
Awesome. So ladies, thank you so much. Let me first say to everyone who's watched, this is not your usual HR team. So if you have HR questions, you see they are not your traditional HR, which is a good thing, because HR is transitioning, and it's turning into more than just employing, hiring, and firing. So if you want to hear insight, and you want to hear wisdom, and you want to understand the full aspect of human resources, and the human aspect of human resources, and the resources aspect, these are two women that you definitely want to connect with. So I invite you to connect with them. I invite you to follow them. I invite you to share, like their information. I'm telling you, their HR Happy Hour, their podcasts are so rich with information. And if you're listening, you get so many different nuggets, and they don't say, hey, this is an HR tip. but if you listen, you'll hear those tips. So I want to thank you ladies so much for joining me. I love you all so very much. I'm just going to tell you, we are sorority sisters. We're line sisters, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Tennessee State University. So we go way back. And for us to be in this place together is such a blessing. And I thank God for you and for your support and for the great things that are beginning and will continue to come for the Career Salon. So I want to thank you ladies so much. And thank you all for watching the Leadership Lunch Break. Until we meet again, have a great one.
Thank you for joining the Leadership Lunch Break. Join us next Thursday at noon Central Standard Time for lunch as we continue our discussions. Follow Speaking of Joy on all social media platforms or visit our website at www.speakingofjoy.com. That's www.speakingofjoye.com. Until next week.